Hello, I'm Kurt Lidke, Executive Director of Klamath Film. And you just watched After the Burn, a refreshing look at the after effects of wildfires and way that we can treat toxic chemicals. With us is the filmmaker, Maia Insinga. Maia, thank you for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So we thought initially that we would be getting a few films about fires this year for the Klamath Independent Film Festival after last year's devastating wildfires in our area. But your film takes a different spin on that, and I enjoy that. I actually think this film could be a lot longer and still be really informative and entertaining. There was even a documentary that I think Jennifer Lawrence narrated called Fantastic
Oh,
Fungi. That's like
yeah.
an hour and a half or so talking about the fascinating background of mushrooms and what they do. So, what made you want to take on this topic?
Yeah, so I actually didn't really know anything about mycoremediation or the topic at all before I just started researching topic ideas for my film. Um, Through my fellowship, I got to pick which topic I wanted to choose, and I was just looking up some stuff online. The forest fires in Oregon and all along the west coast and west side of the US have been pretty devastating for a lot of people. And my neighbor here in Lake Oswego, where I live, he had his cabin burned down this past September last year. So I was kind of just interested in learning about what happens to the housing material after it burns down. And so I was just looking up stuff online and learning about it a little bit and found some pretty cool researchers who have been at the forefront of that research, learning about, where the toxic ash goes, what's in the ash, how do you prevent it, and, mushrooms are there to prevent it. And I just thought that that was really interesting and just wanted to dive into it more and learn about it. And I just got to talk with some really cool people who have had their own personal experiences with the fire, and they talk a little bit about that in the film. And yeah, so I just was really interested in the idea. After I looked up some stuff online, I found that there wasn't really anything talking about it, any sort of like films or videos, so I wanted to create one to showcase a little bit of that research. But yeah.
So, one thing that inevitably happens with any documentary filmmaker is that as soon as you make a film about a topic, everyone assumes that you are the master expert on that subject matter. So, how often do people come to you with mushroom questions, and you're just like, I don't know, go ask them.
Yeah, people definitely have asked me some specific questions that I don't know the answer to at all. I definitely don't know much about mushrooms at all yet, and didn't know pretty much anything about the topic before I made the film. So I really wanted to come from the direction of someone who's just learning about it as the filmmaker and not try and oversell it. So that's something I talked to some of the people that I interviewed about, is that they didn't want it to be, oversold as this like new and like innovative like technology, because it's obviously been around for a long time. Like mushrooms can do this with other things naturally. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to take that perspective from it. I'm still learning. I want other people to learn about it, and I definitely don't know much, but it's been fun to learn a little bit about.
Well, with once again a very hectic summer of fires across Oregon, particularly close by here in Klamath, this film is a very refreshing perspective. There's a lot of people around here who actually are really into moral hunting. I'm not sure if that's
Yeah.
something that from making your film now you've gained somewhat of an interest in, but with the bootleg fire this year, I'm sure moral hunters are anxious to see just how much grows because we've had a
Mm-hmm.
massive one just east of us. So are you somebody that likes to get out into the wild much looking for things, or do you just prefer filming it?
Yeah, so I've never actually done foraging myself, but I'm planning on doing some this fall in Oregon when a lot of the mushrooms come out for the season. So I've got a new foraging book that I'm gonna start using to help. And but no, I haven't done much myself. But I really enjoyed doing the film because I was outside trying to find them a lot, and it was back when the mushrooms weren't growing much. So I found a couple of them outside, and it was pretty fun. And since then, I think it's given me a new perspective on the outdoors and paying attention to, the little things that are growing and trying to be more present and mindful about nature and, yeah, just take a step back and think about it a little bit more.
The science behind using fungi for toxic cleanup is really fascinating to me because it's yet another example of where so often in society we've tried to just kind of throw chemicals at everything to fix things when there's a natural remedy that is already prevalent and is more effective than the chemicals that we create for it. And um, in light of last year's and this year's wildfires, it seems incredibly topical. Your film. Are you aware of any efforts to maybe utilize this and clean up in Oregon, or do you hope that maybe your film can help raise awareness as communities try to recover from fires?
I would definitely hope that it would help raise awareness and maybe start some research in Oregon. When I was looking into it originally, I didn't see much research that was being done in Oregon. I'm sure that there are people in Oregon that have been starting to use it. But yeah, I would love to be able to talk with some researchers and see if they're interested in starting it and learn about it a little bit more locally here. But yeah, I think it's just something that will probably continue to grow and change as time goes on. And hopefully, after this year, people can take some more immediate action with it potentially. And, it's something that you have to do kind of quickly after like a burn site. But and it's such a large scale, so it's a little bit difficult to implement on such a large range of area. But yeah, I'm definitely hopeful. I hope that people are inspired by it just to learn more about it and maybe try it out, maybe just on their own property too, because you can grow oyster mushrooms yourself, which is pretty cool.
So this was a Oregon State student project, correct?
Yeah.
So do you have plans to continue producing films? And if so, what are the next projects for you?
Yeah, I definitely would like to. I just graduated this past spring from Oregon State University, and I'm currently in the job search and looking for anything film related. I also like photography and doing some social media work, so stuff like that. I'm interested in a lot of different things, but I would love to continue doing film and, probably more in the forefront of my mind is maybe just doing some like more personal videos and films and just along the side until I find maybe a project to work on. But yeah, I'm open to anything. Yeah.
So was this a one-person crew production, or did you have people helping you out with it?
So it was a one person crew production. Through the internship, I had a mentor at Oregon State University, Justin Smith, and he helped me throughout the process. But with COVID parameters, I had to do most of it by myself in person. So I was given a camera set, some gear, and mostly just did it all by myself. So all the shots in the film are just me going out to different sites and filming mushrooms in my backyard and everything like that. But yeah, it was just me, and I edited it too and did the audio and everything like that.
I was curious about that because I'm not sure if you had done any films before After the Burn, but it is hard to make a quality film, much less do it when you're in the middle of a global pandemic and there's all these added
Yeah,
restrictions thrown on top of it. This would be the one time when being kind of a solo on your own filmmaker would actually be advantageous as opposed to having
yeah,
any sort of help.
definitely.
So what do you hope that people take away from watching After the Burn?
I would hope that people take away the fact that mushrooms are just all around us all the time, and that we can learn a lot from them. And I think that there's a lot of natural ways that we can fix problems, like you were saying before, and maybe not turn to more synthetic or like chemical use. And just hopefully it'll spark people's interest in getting outside and like seeing the mushrooms and maybe starting to grow some themselves and just get inspired just about nature, maybe about learning more about the science behind it, and yeah, just getting involved.
Well, like I said at the start, we wanted to see more. Like you left the audience wanting with this film, which I understand why you do it that way. But in the course of the film production, were there things that you inevitably left out of the story that maybe you would want people to still know?
Yeah, I definitely had to cut down a good amount for the time constraint of the film, just so it wouldn't be too long and too big of a project for the internship. But I definitely had more interview material more specifically on the human side of it. So, how people are being affected by the fires and how using the technology to clean up the area can be really helpful for human beings and our health, because a lot of people who have not gotten help from like the government to clean up their land after it's been burned, like Cheetah in the interview was saying that he had to help people who were using their bare hands to dig through rubble to find jewelry and stuff like that, but that's really toxic for you. And so he really enjoyed helping those people clean up their land and maybe trying to clean up some of the chemicals left behind. So there's a lot more going into it than just helping, the ecosystems and the waterways and the fish and different animals. Like humans can definitely benefit a lot from it too. So a lot about that community side, bringing people together to clean up these areas and just care for their land. And yeah, so that's definitely something that I could add into another segment or something like that.
Terrific. Well, thank you, Maya, for your film and for joining us, and we look forward to whatever your next project may be. After the Burn will be screened on Sunday, September 19th at 3:30 p.m. in our Northern Shorts category and available all week on demand. Thank you, Maya.
Thank you.